this week's Fact or Fantasy portion, I want to share with you some behind-the-scenes information that makes the birth of the State of Israel so very significant. At that time, the United Nations were deliberating, it was 1947, concerning a two-state solution in the Middle East, exactly as it is today, and they came up with the concept to give the Palestinians a portion and to give the Jews a portion. And a very important development because it was the mother of all UN resolutions that resulted. It was number 181 concerning the Middle East crisis, and the Arabs would not accept this solution. The Jews would have accepted it, and it seemed also a suicidal development for the Jewish people because the tiny piece of land that they were being given, and yet they were willing to accept it. We always forget that the Muslim nations would not accept it, and why? Why was that the case? Well, I want to show you this clip now to give you an overview of all the currents that were coming together at that time, and it was a pivotal point in world history.
Partition was linked with the very idea of a Jewish state, and we were vitally interested in gaining international recognition.
Arabs saw partition as a step towards Jewish statehood. If recognition came, it was war.
So nobody thought about a state, really a state, because we knew a state means war. And nobody wanted a war.
Israeli statesman Abba Eban was representing Israel in the United Nations at the time as a young diplomat, and he recalls,
everything happened on that day. So many currents came together. There was a British decision to move out. There was an Arab decision to move in. There was an Israeli decision to proclaim statehood in spite of the resistance that this would incur. There was an American decision to recognize Israel. There was a United Nations decision not to get in the way, not to rescind partition. And I'll never forget how, while the United Nations was talking about partition, two things happened which made that discussion marginal. First, an announcement from Tel Aviv, the State of Israel has been established. And we therefore said to the United Nations, gentlemen, what you're saying is very interesting, but in the meantime the issue has been decided. And 11 minutes afterwards, a message from Washington that President Truman, whose representatives were arguing against Jewish statehood in the General Assembly, had in fact given us recognition within a quarter of an hour of our birth.
the euphoria of the newborn State of Israel was short-lived, as on the very next day, May the 15th, 1948, 6 Arab armies attacked. And they attacked this fledgling State of Israel. And so next week, I want to take you behind the scenes in Fact or Fantasy with the late General Uzi Narkis and the pain that he was going through as a young officer in the Israeli Defense Forces when he had to give up Jerusalem, the city of his birth, which he'd loved so much. You'll not want to miss it next week. This is Jay Rawlings reporting to you, Fact or Fantasy.